And welcome back, flying out the J-8B today, and I want to focus on a few things. This thing flies very similarly to the Kfir, and just like the F1C that I covered yesterday, it is not very meta, but this thing however does have very good power, and as you can see the AOA on this thing is pretty damn insane. So you can basically get your gun anywhere you want it to go, as long as they are relatively in front of you. Today I got for you a few reversals, a 1v4, 1v2, another 1v2, but they both ran back to the airfield. And at the very end, it's something a lot of you guys have been requesting. I'm gonna soft carry a game without getting a single point at the end of the match. I got 4 to 5 people killed, but I didn't hit a single shot. Skill issue. And it really works with this plane, because that's essentially the way you fly it. You fly it very supportively. This plane, if people know you are there, they're probably gonna be not doing much, depending of course on the matchup. If you can run from them, out accelerate them, it's fine. But the GSA's 23 as well as the PL5s are not the greatest guns and missiles to really kill people very quickly. The PL5s are kind of like the Minecraft arrows. They're super fast, they fly super straight, and if you lead them properly they can catch people off guard. But if they have flares, if they're paying attention, very likely they're not gonna hit anything other than insane ranges. So FGRs really like sticking the dogfight. I am not entirely sure why. FGRs as well as F4Js really like doing that, and you can see that I'm trying to lead the missile in, didn't lead it just enough, and the missile will just fly straight. The acceleration on the PL5s, as we all know, is absolutely bonkers, and the reason I'm not running the ASPIDEs or the APSIDEs or whatever they're called is because I can only carry 2 of them. I'd rather have 4 of the PL5s than only 2 of the APSIDEs, and then no heat seekers in the background. Of course, once we start getting modified loadouts, I will probably run 2 APSIDEs and 2 PL5s. F1C coming in, absolutely dog shit plane, as we saw yesterday. One turn, he ends up in front of us, and the AOA of this plane is pretty damn nasty. And you can tell that I have no problem pulling lead, and that's not because I necessarily I do outturn him, but it's not necessarily because I'm outturning him. This plane kind of just stands on its engines. It feels like thrust vectoring and just kind of nose up out of nowhere. Of course, be careful, the speed bleed on this thing is still pretty bad. It feels a bit like a MiG-21 in that regard, but you have 2 engines. But funnily enough, you don't actually out-accelerate it by that much. Until about 1290, you do out-accelerate the MiG-21 by an absolute slightest of margins. And then once you start getting above that to like 1310 roughly IS on the deck, you will kind of brick wall, and the 21 bis will pull past you, will rip his wings off way before you do, and you will still be sitting at roughly 1310. The difference is pretty minimal. It's kind of preference, it feels kind of different. I like the feel of this plane a little bit more, but I don't like the PL5s that much, because they basically act, as I said, like Minecraft arrows. They are fast, they have a lot of range, but you basically have to shoot them like a rocket. They fly extremely straight, and a very small margin for error. Of course, once you start shooting at ranges like that, they will slow down a little bit, and they have this ability to turn a little bit more. But if you start shooting at angles like this, at closer ranges, you see that I really just have to lead the missile kind of like a rocket. And I find this kind of comparable to something like the AIM-9Gs. In theory, of course, in practice they are completely different, but they are missiles that sacrifice a little bit of range for maneuverability. And you really just have this poking ability with this plane, and that's great about it. But this and the Kfir are kind of in the same boat, where they have these missiles as well as the gun set that aren't amazing for carrying or just getting quick kills. So you find yourself playing very passively, trying to pick people off that are not paying attention, and dragging people straight in front of teammate is something you will be doing very often in this thing. And again, Mirage shoot at about 4 kilometers here, and that's not gonna have much trouble actually reaching him. I could have shot that at way further range, but I wasn't sure if he's gonna do anything. I see that missile come off, so he's probably not paying attention to the guy behind him, and he's probably trying to shoot the guy in front of him, and that's exactly what happened. And here we are on the first game that I'm gonna show you at least fully, and this is gonna end in a 1v4. And at the start, because with the Kfir I kinda missed doing this, I didn't play it this way, so I decided why not play a little bit differently, why not listen to the criticism that I have received and fly this thing at a little bit of a higher range, a higher altitude, and use your speed to just outrun these missiles. You do have countermeasures, you don't have the most amount, and as usual I will be running the mixed set, unless of course, well, the load is pretty low, but 32 is enough. You have the large countermeasures, and this F4J locks on to the first guy he sees, and I'm just gonna be dragging this guy right in front of the MiG-23. Notice how he's slowly but surely catching up to him, because I'm leading the turn into him. MiG-23 shoots a missile. I of course turn my smoke on just to say fuck you, pay attention. There are more people in this match. He eats the missile, his radar signature, well, the lock gets broken, and that missile goes absolutely dead. I compliment the guy, and we are back towards the middle of the fight here. And you really want to fly the outskirts of this plane. You can 1v2, 1v3 in this thing, but again, it's top tier, and if they play it smart, well, you are gonna have a little bit of a problem. But I will show you exactly that in the middle of this video, and funnily enough, a little bit later the roles are reversed, and I will show you just how much of an impact actually spacing makes on fighting multiple people at once. I get this mod guy on my 6, and he shoots his first missile at me. Not sure which it is. I think that was a magic. So flare a little bit. It was a magic. Looking at the RWR now, I wasn't actually paying attention back then. EJ coming in from the right, so I want to turn out a little bit so he doesn't catch me too quickly. This is going to be a big missile. Doesn't actually track. It's probably going to be the 550 or the 530, the chunk one, but the bad one, the old one. Here comes a second missile, or the third one actually. This is another big missile, so I'm going to dodge it last second. Very easy to dodge. There he goes. A little bit close for comfort, but it was doable nonetheless. Mod guy is still on my 6. He really wants to kill me. Feel free to do so, because you're not going to be winning a 1v1 versus the J8. Drop the afterburner, pop some flares. EJ gets cleaned up by the MiG-21 BIS. A Weep, great name. We pull up over him, and we will bleed so much more speed than him, and we will pull so much more AOA than him. One turn and you're dead. We are now going to dive out, pick our speed back up, and I will meet you in the middle of the match. And here we are running into the middle of the match. So we have an F8E, an F5E, another F5E, and a J837C. Great matchup. All kind of annoying planes to fight in this thing, because they all keep their speed pretty well. The J837 luckily is the only plane with, well, SRH missiles here, so, and he only has 2. Just need to make sure that I can notch him and chaff him at the same time. Missile misses. That's missile 1. And we are just kind of looking for an opening here. The MiG-21 is busy over there, but the other F5 on my 6, Xas with a lot of numbers, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, is trying to keep me out of the fight. And if I turn in right now, I'm just going to die. So for now, I kind of have to let a Weep die, which is unfortunate. I'm sorry for that, but I'm here to win. I'm not here to be heroic. F5 breaks off, kind of gives me some room, and now I can start pulling in here. F5 is not going to get a shot anytime soon. MiG-21 goes down just as I didn't want it to go down. 5 more seconds and I could have easily killed the F8E here. We go head on, we shoot a missile, doesn't actually track, of course it doesn't. And I see that the J37 as well as the other F5E are now running away. So I'm gonna both bring these guys into a spiral with my way superior acceleration here. And once the F5E gets pretty slow, he is not much of a threat. He doesn't really have the acceleration anymore. He is on pretty low fuel at this point, so I do want to be somewhat careful. But this is what I meant with spacing is the most important part of fighting in a 1v2, 3v2, 3v1. If you are on the same guy, do not stay on the same line. And the F8E is doing exactly that. The F5E here is going to die if that F8E is also going to try to pitch up after me. And at this point he was still doing so. He doesn't have the energy, he doesn't have the capability to pull straight up. So I have this F5E by the balls. Unfortunately, the F8E now is kind of breaking off. He is separating himself from the fight and then coming back in. The F5E here would have died in 1, maybe 2 more turns here. I can easily stick on this guy here and just gun him down. The problem is, this F8E will absolutely clap my ass. So I have to now break off and run away. F8E is pretty damn hard to aim. So I just kind of pull into him. And now I'm gonna be out accelerating them. And well, now we need to reset. F8E and the F5E are now keeping me busy. Other 2 teammates of theirs are actually gonna try to rearm and refuel. And they're gonna be doing a relay race. And they will be like doing a shift. 2 guys keeping me busy, the rest rearms and refuels, and then I'm forced to actually RTB as well. because otherwise I get caught by the second group again. So now we are back on the runway. It is a 1v4. The F-8E crashed, but I don't see a parachute, so I expect him to be still alive. We are not sure at this point, it's simply speculation. So we take off and we kind of look around. I don't want to start camping the airfield, so I want to get out of here as quickly as I can. And then I see the F-5E directly above us. So what I'm going to try to do here is stay as low as I can. Kind of stay directly below him. Hardest position to be spotted in. And I'm going to be following him. So because of the direction he's flying in right now, I'm just going to be chasing him over the airfield. And I'm going to pitch straight up into him. If I get caught off guard by the J-37, so be it. I need to be aggressive here. I need to dwindle these numbers down, because in my head it is still 1v4. I'm not sure if this F-8E is down, so I'm not gonna count him out just yet. Lost a guy here because of the sun for a second, so I'm kind of looking around. I keep looking back there as well to make sure that I don't get jumped by the other guys, because once you are straight above the airfield, they can actually kill you pretty easily, as the SAM sites cannot shoot straight up. This F-5E is not really paying attention, and the reason I kind of delayed my turn there is to get more behind him. We lead the missile like a rocket and it flies directly into him. We set him on fire. He wasn't afterburning, so I'm kind of worried that he's gonna run out of fuel here, but at any case he is gonna be out of the match until he reaches the other side of the map to maybe land and repair. But at least for now I can fight this J-37 easily on his own. Problem is, the F-5E is directly next to him, and I do not really have the speed here or the separation to really do anything. But I also don't want to run to the airfield, so we dodged the first head-on, we dodged the second head-on, and I'm just kind of scraping the ground, making it harder for them to really pull lead on me, and if they do try to do so, they will probably slam directly into a tree. The J-37 is playing it pretty passively, which is something that I'm not really a fan of, and the F-5E here is the one that earlier on really stuck that fight with that F-8E, and he's pretty greedy. So if I know here, or I have this feeling here, that if I bait this J-37 into a fight directly next to the F-5, I can probably get them both in the same line group, or in the same like pattern, and I can just do one turn and turn with both of them at once. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to group them together on my 6. I do have a superior turn rate at higher speeds, and I do get out of their guns pretty quickly. I just want to make sure that I don't bleed all my speed directly ahead of him, or of them actually. And there's the F-8E, kind of expected, but I'm glad I didn't actually start turning too quickly, because I was kind of waiting for that guy. The J-37 here is trying to pull lead, so we dodge his guns, we dodge the guns of the F-5E, and at this point the F-8E is really throwing a wrench into all of this. This kind of makes it impossible to fight, because that F-8E is not picking the fight. The F-8E has absolutely bonkers energy retention, but it's also someone that managed to crash on landing earlier when he was just out of fuel. So my hopes aren't exactly too high. He's playing way too passive, and well, you already knew where that was going. He manages to rip his wings off. I'm not gonna say that was intentional. I'm just trying to bleed these guys off their missiles, accidentally press my zoom key. But now these guys are directly next to each other, and I have this feeling that they are both gonna take the fight. So I'm gonna go balls in right now, and if that J-37 runs away, I am completely fucked. Luckily they are both taking the fight. I'm not even sure who I was shooting there at that point. With a little bit of luck that would have been a double. And now I'm firmly on the 6 of the F-5E, so firmly so that the J-37 here, that's basically pulling right in front of us, doesn't really do anything. He just gives me a free shot. And I'm still on the 6 of the F-5E here, and I will bleed more speed than him. I will actually out AOA him pretty handily. So at this speed, at this point, especially with this kind of position, and especially considering he doesn't have an entire tail section, he is completely boned. And I'm just gonna clean this guy up, and I'm waiting for that other F5 to just land, repair, and come back in. Maybe we'll have another 1v1, but unfortunately he is just gonna ram into the ground here without any fuel. And in some sense of the word, I get a double kill. And there you have it, 1v4 with a pretty good example set. And here we are with another game in the J8, and this is gonna be the game where I kill 4 to 5 people without actually hitting a single shot, without even hitting a single missile. I get 0 points at the end of this game, and I got a plethora of people killed. So first off, the F4E. The F4E here is very hungry for that kill, so I just make sure that I'm just tight enough that I'm just close enough and I'm going fast enough as well, so his missiles are never gonna be pulling in enough to actually shoot me down. I'm far enough away here to just dive away from the F4E. F104S comes in. I'm pre-flaring because I'm not sure if that's the ASA that maybe has some AIM-9Ls. I don't really want to be dealing with that. But everyone is going head on with me and I'm distracting the entire team here. And the reason I'm not actually afterburning now is because I want these guys to actually not be outran too hard. I want them to stay interested in me. F5E does exactly that. He gets a little bit too interested, stays on my 6, and Chuck Norris over there shoves a R60 up his ass. And now we are just going to be flying straight and we are going to be resetting. Oh, it's an F5C. No matter, he is dead now and we are going to be choosing another prime target. But how do you pick a target when you don't have the ability to kill basically anyone you want to look at, and you need a very situational and a very unlikely scenario here? There's a lot of enemies in that cluster in the middle and there's a little amount of teammates around, so they're not going to be distracted. It's very likely they're going to come head on with me, so I'm just going to loiter for a second. I'm going to see what the fight does and I'm going to just kind of see what it turns into, and then I'll pick someone that I can kill. I want to kill the biggest immediate threat, or I want to kill the most dangerous plane. For the team, maybe late game, early game, doesn't really matter who poses the biggest threat, and it's gonna be the F4E here. But there's also another F4E that's trying to bomb there, so I'm gonna lock him up and I'm just gonna shoot a PL5 at long range at him while keeping a check on this F4E here, and I'm kind of tempted to dive on him. But if I do, I'm gonna turn that fight into a 1v3 and I'm not really looking forward to that. So I'm gonna stay on this guy in case that he flares, he starts pulling, and he does. I could have easily killed this F4E, but the Vigan here is coming in for me. So I need to be aware of that. I need to start dodging him, drop the burner, drop the flaps, drop the flares. We dodge the missile and the Vigan breaks back off again. F5E now on R6. And I'm bringing Chuck Norris in yet again. Dodge the missile as per usual. And I'm just kind of looking at what's developing here. F5 luckily breaks off, so now I have the ability to turn back around. And Chuck Norris is yet again here to clean the guy off my 6. And I really am just keeping everyone busy here. The Vigan went for me, got distracted, is now on the other side of the map. F4E got distracted, is now slow, and he's now gonna try to pitch straight up for us. We still have 8 chaff and 8 flares. I do want to use them somewhat sparingly. So I dropped 1 at the start, missile keeps tracking. So we just dropped the rest while notching. He doesn't have pulse Doppler. And we just stalled this guy out without a problem. We are just gonna go flat here. I don't want to go vertical because I will go through his guns. But by going horizontal for a little bit, he will actually not get anyone near us. Chuck Norris coming back in. And well, people are just so kill hungry that they manage to get themselves kills instead without anything to show for it. 2 F5s now on the deck, and we are gonna be doing the exact same thing again. I'm looking here who to engage, and the first F5 breaks off, so I'm gonna go for the Reaper guy here, because well, we can turn this into a 1v2. The other F5 I'm suspecting is breaking off because of the fuel load. Of course, not sure, but I can just stay on this guy. I'm trying to lead this missile like a rocket. I almost said rocket on accident. And I'm just gonna sit on this guy 6. And what is he gonna do? Not much, because he's not gonna be making me overshoot. I simply lose too much speed. I pulled too much air away for that. So I can just sit on his ass. But this was my first game. Or my second game actually. So my aim here is pretty damn rusty. I haven't used the GSH-23 in about 2.5 months. So yeah, it's not doing, I'm not gonna do very well. But it doesn't matter. I'm sitting on this guy 6. And I don't have to kill him. It's 2v1. All I have to do is keep this guy locked into this position. And he can't do anything. He can't break off because I'll gun him down. And as long as I keep him into this loop. Here he is again. Chuck Norris coming in to absolutely rock his shit. He misses him. He crits him. And the F5 bails out. We are RTB. We are gonna land. And we are gonna see you tomorrow.